And I'm going to beat Roger to it. Happy Thursday, everybody. It's May 18th, episode 230, or 230, if you will, if you're a dentist. Welcome to the 359 podcast. And in the house today, we've got Roger Cheng and Alfred Ng. Guys, what's going on?
Hey.
Have we all bounced back from Google I.O.?
Yes. Sort of? I don't know.
That was an intense amount of coverage.
It was overwhelming.
Well, there's another day today.
Yes. We're going to try to re-encapsulate that here briefly
today. We're
today.
going to try to give you the highlights.
Good
what
luck.
Impressed us most, what disappointed us with Google I.O.
We might need like an 8:59 for that one.
Yeah, I know. We're going to try to keep it quick. But that's what the post show is for,
Yeah.
right? All right. So, as always, if you have any questions about Google I.O. or any of the huge announcements from yesterday, leave them in the comment section. Brian will get them. And we will get to them in 3 minutes and 59 seconds.
From 3, 2...
Welcome to the 359. I'm Roger Cheng.
I'm Alfred Ng.
So Google dropped an overwhelming amount of news yesterday at its I.O. developer conference. From Google Lens, updates to its home and photos, and of course, Android O. Google has certainly been keeping busy. So Alfred, what excited you most from the developer conference?
Yo, did you see that Google Lens on the Wi-Fi password?
That was amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
Like the most practical use of something like that I've seen in a long time.
I'm just frustrated that like that didn't come out earlier. It just seemed like one of those things like, why did no one think of this before?
I have to imagine that was pretty complicated to pull off.
Yeah.
Right?
So for our listeners, if you're not familiar with it, Google Lens basically uses your camera and it's kind of like an AR thing. So
it's sort of like image recognition.
Yeah. So one of its features is that if you need to get the Wi-Fi password from underneath somebody's router, and if it's like 16 letters long, you can just point the Google Lens at it, and it'll automatically recognize that, and then
autofill the password.
And it'll connect straight from there. It's not like it copies and pastes.
That is awesome. That is, like I said, one of the more practical uses I've seen of this kind of image recognition technology. There's other things, right? Like pointing your camera at a restaurant, getting the reviews to pop up.
And that's actually not just based off your camera because it's connected with like Google Maps and your location. So like it connects with that, it knows where you are, and then it like takes a look at the restaurants and it like scans for the names and all that. So you can basically find out, if it's a good restaurant, like what they look like on Yelp, all that kind of stuff.
What's really interesting, this is actually a form of augmented reality. Now, AR, we've mostly seen through Snapchat, Instagram, through those filters, right? Through like lenses, puking rainbows, unicorns, crowns, all kind of fun stuff. Google's actually taking a different tack. They're actually making AR that you actually want to use.
I'd be interested to see in how well this works, though, because they had something like this before with Google Goggles on like an older version of Android. And I tried using it in the past, and it really wasn't that great.
It was very hit or miss. Then again, that was a couple years old.
Yeah.
They've definitely stepped up their work in terms of AI, the back end, machine learning. So there's a lot more resources being put here. So this isn't just a project. Google, I think Goggles is kind of a project, like a one-off for them. I feel like Lens is critical to their whole strategy with Google system, right? Speaking of which, let's talk about Google Home.
Yes.
Right. So they offered a bunch of improvements, including home or phone calls. But you were still kind of disappointed, right? You were looking for more.
Yes, because I wanted a cheaper version. If you listened to the podcast yesterday, it was basically, please give me something that I can like buy and just justify having, as opposed to this expensive like Home Assistant.
What you're looking for is basically their equivalent of Echo Dot.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. The stocking stuffer that you can just sort of toss around. That's fairly not disposable, but it's sort of a cheap giveaway gift.
That's the thing. All the features looked incredibly cool, like the phone calls that you could make. They're finally catching up to Amazon with Spotify integration.
Yep.
Being able to stream off Chromecast, which like I really want that feature for Amazon, but I probably won't see it. All the features are really cool. It's just one of those things where it's like, please, drop the price on this thing.
All right. Lastly, we have to talk about Android O, which they didn't spell out the name, but I guess we weren't really expecting that. What to you was the most interesting thing about Android O?
For me, it was definitely Project Treble. So that's kind of their move to kind of get every Android kind of on the same level here, so they're not as fragmented as it is.
Yeah,
because
that's definitely the biggest problem, right? 7% are on the newest version of Android. That's a small number.
And right now, that's kind of like a major security issue for them because not everyone's getting the patches as soon as they should be getting them.
Absolutely.
Which from WannaCry, we know, you should try to update as frequently as you can, but in some scenarios, you just can't.
Right. All right, look, there's plenty more today at Google I.O. So for more of those stories, check us out on CNET. I'm Roger Cheng.
I'm Alfred Ng.
Thanks for listening.
There is a lot more.
There's we really kind of breezed through some of the highlights, but
I'm
we
sitting
missed
here-
I'm
so
surprised
much.
we did
Trying
that.
to pack that into
I
4
wanted to
minutes.
talk
I'm
about-
sitting here sweating
I
listening
wanted
to
to
you.
talk about Google Photos. We couldn't even get to Google Photos. Like there's just so much from that show. We didn't talk about the VR aspects, the standalone VR
and like you
headsets.
barely graze the surface on the AR.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's the thing is, for me it seemed like the AR aspects were a lot more interesting this year than the VR. VR sort of, they kind of like they talked about it. They're the headsets that are coming later this year, but for me the AR stuff had way more practical applications now. Like I want Lens now. I want that Wi-Fi thing now.
Also,
Yeah.
to be fair, if your Wi-Fi is still underneath your router, like, what are you doing
Actually,
with your life?
mine is.
Why?
Yeah.
Why don't
Give
you
me the
change
password?
it? Yeah,
I am super lazy.
it's not even that hard.
It's
If you go on your computer and if you go to any website ever, like, it's the same amount of effort.
yeah, I'm just that lazy.
All right.
Will you change it when you get Google Lens? Like, if
No.
you can just, oh my God.
No. In fact, it'll encourage me to be more lazy because I can just point my camera at
I'm going
it
to take away your CNET card. Your official company sanctioned CNET authority card
Do you at least rename your server, your, like, Wi-Fi?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
to
It's not
Roger's
Verizon-
house.
It's like Verizon, Fios, whatever. No, I have renamed the network. So.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
What's the name of your network?
A1.
Oh, that's lame.
It's very newspapery.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh yeah, such a journalism nerd.
What's yours?
RC network.
Oh, man. You guys are no fun. I
used-
named mine the House of Trades.
It used to be. It used to be.
Dune reference. Love
Yeah.
it.
It used
Love
to be Wu-Tang Land, and then like people were calling me out for not being original because like they've seen that before. I'm like, I'm not trying to impress you guys with my Wi-Fi.
Yeah, this is a
names, dude.
Wi-Fi name.
It's just,
All right, let's get to Google.
All right,
what do our viewers want to know?
well, let's go ahead and pitch that question back out to everybody. What were the things that you saw that you were most excited about? We kind of touched on them here, but we'll expand on them for a few minutes and let you submit your comments and questions. A couple submissions already from Bafa says the Force Touch is kind of cool on Android. And Baum Invention says, I'm excited about the new security. It's cool you can now delete apps that they don't like.
That is an amazing feature.
Yeah,
The end of bloatware.
I know.
Thank you,
It's
Google.
been a problem since day one. But yeah.
I was looking at my phone today where I was trying to get on Facebook Messenger, and then I have messages,
Yeah.
and Messenger, and I'm like,
You've
why
got
do
a
I?
Samsung phone, right?
Yes,
Yeah, that's why.
yeah, and it's also like Verizon.
Do you have like
messages and
15
stuff.
browsers as well?
No, I only have Chrome on it.
Okay. Because I think Samsung, like with the S8, Samsung has its own browser.
I might have hidden it,
Okay.
but I don't know. But I mean, it's in my like drawer or whatever.
Yeah.
Here's a good question from our old buddy Yathu. He says, what is the difference between having YouTube Red and the new Google Picture-in-Picture mode? That's a great point.
Oh.
That does kind of like shave a little incentive off YouTube Red, but considering it's all Google at the end of the day,
Yeah, that's to me the problem with.
you still don't get
Google.
that premium content
Yeah.
and the different delivery packages.
It's a YouTube
ad
Red is
serving.
an ad-free experience, isn't it?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Yeah.
Are they tiered now? I forget. If you can
I'm
do,
not even sure.
Yeah,
we
but-
need Joan.
But yeah,
Yeah.
YouTube Red has their whole like, oh, we've got like exclusives
Yeah,
on this
exactly.
one.
They've got premium content.
original YouTube series.
But the
Oh,
picture-in-picture
boy.
thing, that was huge. Running, like background running
Yeah.
for YouTube
Yeah.
Red subscribers. That was awesome. That was almost enough for me to get it, but I didn't.
Almost.
I thought
Almost.
about getting it just so I could like just play music from that and like
Yeah.
have my phone shut off.
But it's
the
like
whole
I'm
time.
already on Spotify. I don't really need
That's the thing. I'm not on
both.
Spotify.
Yeah, there you go.
so-
One or the other really does suffice. I don't think you need both.
Yeah.
Matthew Datcher says, is Google still able to visually solve Sudoku puzzles? That's an interesting question. I've never tried that.
I don't know. Are they?
Has
Wait,
anyone tried
well,
that?
he said still able to. So
this is all
was
news.
that already a feature?
This is news to me.
Is that something that they
Yeah, I
promoted,
don't-
or is
I
this
don't-
like one of those like Easter eggs, like the dinosaur game?
Probably an Easter egg.
Yeah.
You know, like something
Yeah, I
somebody
don't-
figured out
I
along the
don't
lines.
know if their visual AI is up to par for that right now. Like I don't know, like Lens that they showed off, like they didn't really, from what I understand, there weren't any live demonstrations.
No,
after the
yeah.
after the conference. So
Yeah.
it's still an early.
That's what I'm
Early
saying.
beta.
I would love to see if
I'd
this
be
thing
surpri-
actually
I'd be
works.
surprised if they did that.
Yeah. All right. Keep sending in your comments and questions. What you saw, what you liked, what you didn't like. Let's get real for a minute, Alfred. What was your real editorial personal takeaway from this? Put down your CNET card for a minute, and just
Let me.
I've already closed my laptop. As well.
No, I think it's really cool. I always feel like Android's kind of like behind the ball on a lot of these things, and it's kind of disappointing that a lot of older devices like don't get them.
Yep.
Very excited for the Google Home stuff. Again, I still wish it were cheaper, just because I'm very frugal about these things.
Right.
I'd say
But
give it like 6 months.
Yeah.
Once the dust settles from the new features, then it'll roll back off real quick.
This
I
whole-
agree. I mean, I also imagine during holiday season, like, surprise, we're gonna have this cheaper
Yeah.
Google Home that rolls out right before Christmas, right before Black Friday.
Go figure.
This whole thing, the competition between like the Google Home and the Amazon Echo, though, like it really feels like a tortoise in the hare kind of scenario for me, where like Amazon's like, look at this, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're like
Right,
all these
right.
scenarios, and Google just like chilling back.
Although, I mean,
And then-
according to Ben's reporting, like, it's Amazon that feels the heat right now because Google Home is able to recognize different people at
Yeah.
home.
Mm-hmm.
Echoes cannot, not yet at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
That kind of freaked them out. I think that's why you saw them kind of ramp up the number of products
Mm-hmm.
they showed off. Like, we've got Show, we've got Look, we've got all these things now. We'll see if any of them actually
Yep.
sell.
Google's building a lot of cool stuff out of this. I mean, the lens is like really cool to me. The one thing that I'm like, I wonder if they'll actually do this with the lens, because they've been talking about how like they're building their AI out a lot. And if you consider like with Google Photos, all these photos of like people's faces on it, I wonder if they're building kind of like a facial recognition thing off of that, where like you can like use Google Lens, like, oh, that's Brian, and like that's
Isn't that kind of what they're doing with Google Photos? Is the idea that it'll be able to recognize not just objects, not
yeah, but
the fact that
that's
it's
in
on the
your
beach.
phone. I'm saying
Right.
like if
In the
like
ether.
Oh, just like
yeah,
you're just
like
pointing it at somebody.
yeah.
You know, it's funny. I was having a conversation with someone building a pair of smart glasses running on Android, and that was like his ultimate goal, like a front-facing camera. Like, you'll be able to scan Brian's face. You may not know Brian, but like facts about Brian will just pop up on the glasses,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right? And it's just weird, and it's like not that far from reality.
there was a startup that was like what they were trying to build that I spoke with before, where basically it was able to scan faces, but the only way that it could scan your face is if you use the app, and you had to like enroll your face in it. But
Okay,
this
so
one,
someone else, like, you couldn't.
I wouldn't be able to just like
a
point it
random
at a
stranger.
stranger.
Right,
But the
right.
thing is, with like Google Photos, if everyone is using that,
Yeah,
you know,
you're
and
already
it's-
logged in.
yeah, I don't
That's
know.
the thing. Like we were just talking about before this podcast started. The Google Photos to me is sort of the kind of sneaky way of Google getting you to stay on their ecosystem, right? Because Google Photos, I mean, one, you've got a sentimental attachment to these photos.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to let go. But Google Photos is increasingly using all these services, whether it's Gmail, Google Assistant, now Google Lens. If you ever wanted to like quit Google cold turkey and go to Apple, like it's pretty much impossible because
Yep.
they're tied
Well,
in with your photos.
They have Google Photos on like Apple though.
No, but the thing of it is, you're still using Google services.
Yes,
there.
correct.
You can't give up on Google. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't give up on Google in general though. What
Yeah.
are you gonna Bing all your searches?
I'm gonna Bing stuff. Yeah, man, it's possible. People, some
did
people
you
Bing.
did you see the New York Times story that was basically like, of the top 5 tech companies, which one would you cut? Like which two would you cut?
Yes.
Like pretty much nobody cut Alphabet. Like
You know
Facebook
what?
was like
actually the one I kept. My top company I kept was actually Amazon
Okay.
because it's Prime.
I mean,
I'd say it's
Physical-
tied with Alphabet in
But
my
Google
opinion.
was for me a close second.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you could give up on Apple, Microsoft. What was the Twitter?
Facebook.
Facebook
was the first one I cut.
Was my first
Yeah.
one too. Like I was like, I don't really need this.
Snapchat.
I mean, Snapchat. doesn't
Snapchat's
even
not a
rank.
top 5.
Doesn't even
Oh, it's
rank.
not?
Yeah,
okay. Don Wilson has a great comment. He says Google Lens looked just like the API announced at Microsoft Build 2017. That's an interesting point.
Oh, which that's so weird. It's like it just happened a few weeks ago, but it
Right.
was all kind of a blur. I don't really remember the.
Is it the principle of great minds think alike?
yeah,
Though?
I mean they're all focusing on AR and VR as sort of like the next growth engine, and so it's not a surprise that everyone's trying to use image recognition. That's the key component to AR, right? To getting those stats and facts up into to your line of sight. But yeah, I mean, like they're all like all these big companies are investing in the same thing. It really is. I guess it's really who actually gets there 1st. I think Google has an advantage because they're trying to put this on the phone, right? Microsoft doesn't have that physical platform to deliver AR services, right? They've got HoloLens, which who knows when it'll actually come to market for consumers, right?
Sure.
So
yeah, maybe
you know,
Windows should like make a phone.
Pump the brakes, kid.
Yeah, I don't know. One of the I think I forgot what I was gonna say, but it was definitely related to your point about like them pushing for like AI and AR and all that stuff.
Yep.
So
Roger, let's get your wholehearted response and very personal takeaway from
from
IO.
IO in total, in general.
Just yesterday's so far.
I mean, I thought It was long. It was overwhelming. There was just a ton of stuff that they dropped on us. Again,
It was a word vomit. It
yeah.
just
I mean, I do think the lens stuff is incredible if they can pull it off. But for me, there's the skeptic in me that's like, well, is this too good to be true?
I'm very much with you on that one.
Yeah.
It seems really neat on the surface. I have philosophical back and forth over it. I want it to know the world around me, but I don't
Right.
like the idea of it knowing me.
Yes.
You know?
But that's part of the
Sounds
problem.
like Google.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go figure.
And I thought, I mean, few people have talked about it as much, but I thought Android Go was kind of a nice way to get, push towards that next billion users, next billion phone users with an operating system that's a little bit stripped down, that's cheaper, that it's actually cognizant of the fact that data is expensive in some parts of the world and that connectivity is an issue sometimes. And like having a low connectivity, stripped down operating system, that's going to be key when you're going after that next billion users.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Before we move on, Matthew Datcher points out that Ed Ree posted a CNET article in 2011 about Google Goggles solving Sudoku puzzle. We'll have to go look that back
yeah,
up.
we'll have
That's
to look that
before my time, and I apologize, but we will look into that. That's really cool.
That's the thing. I never used goggles that often. And when I did, like, it rarely worked.
I tried
so
two times
Kind
and
of
then,
stopped. Yeah.
I tried 2 times and then it didn't work. And I was like, all right, well,
I feel
this
like
was
that
fun.
must have been some sort of like pre-programmed exercise
Yeah.
for goggles.
Maybe, yeah. That
Yeah.
could have just been like a.
But thanks for that info. We'll have to look that up.
You know our history better than we do.
I know.
To be fair, CNET's huge, and we don't know everybody
Right.
and everything.
And
We
that was
try.
actually, I think, slightly before my time as well. Like,
Yeah.
Ed Ree and I did not
Cross paths.
cross paths.
Yeah. All right, we got a few more comments coming in. JC Morgendorfer says, does future Daydream phones have a chance to get World Sense? Excuse me. Like, for example, the Zen phone or AR, which both have Daydream and Tango AR support.
I'm not familiar with World Sense. Which one is World Sense?
I don't know World Sense myself. Alfred?
I'm going to have to look that up.
All right, we'll move on.
Yep.
Soryunke says, does Google have a plan for satellite communications as he's currently working on a project in space technology?
I know they have a bunch of projects for getting planes in the air to deliver cell phone signals. I'm not aware of any projects using satellite radio. From what I understand, satellite radio or satellite phone service or cell service is extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So I don't really know if Google is actually working on that.
I remembered what I was going to ask before now.
Yes.
Go for
ask
it.
So Google Assistant now on iPhones. Are you actually planning on putting that on your iPhone or?
Yes. Yeah. I think the problem with Google Assistant on your iPhone is it's not going to be as proactive as it is on an Android phone, right? Because
Yeah.
it still has to flow through Apple's APIs and through their system. So it's not going to be as proactive.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as useful.
Yeah,
From what I think what I assume is you'll have to actively trigger it
Yeah.
to do stuff.
From what I've seen, though, I feel like it's like a lot better than Siri is.
I was going
Like,
to say, is this the nail in the coffin for Siri?
I think as long as Apple keeps making it like a pain in the ass
That's
to
the
get
thing.
to it.
It's the thing. Like Siri, you can at least
Yeah.
trigger it with your voice. There are easy ways to trigger Siri. There isn't yet an easy way to, and I don't know if they will somehow get around it. But there isn't an easy way to trigger Google Assistant on your iPhone beyond like tapping the app.
Because that's the thing. Like, I prefer Chrome on my iPhone to use, but every app their default browser comes with is Safari. So like, I'll have Chrome, but like everything that I open is like in Safari anyway, and
Yeah.
it's just like, why do I even have Chrome? I feel like that's just what's going to end up happening with Google Assistant on the iPhone.
Yeah. Going back
Even
to
though it's
World
better.
Sense. By the way, World Sense was the name of the standalone VR headsets.
Oh,
So
okay,
what was
gotcha.
What was the question again?
He says,
Something about
does
Daydream.
future Daydream phones have a chance to get World Sense? Like, for example, the Zen phone AR, which have both Daydream and Tango AR support.
Oh, the idea of like motion tracking.
Correct.
I don't think so. I imagine these
Speculative.
headsets. Yeah, this is speculation, but these headsets have special cameras that are kind of position tracking. They track in and out, hence the inside-out term. We tried some of these at CES. Actually, Qualcomm had like a sort of a reference design or concept prototype, and they work pretty well. But there's special hardware that's required, and I don't know if those phones kind of work. Tango-enabled phones might actually work with this, but it's almost like I feel like it's two categories. Like with the phone VR headsets are kind of like just sort of simple motion. These are not just motion, but like position. Like you could actually move forward and back, and that's a bigger difference. That's kind of like what the Vive does.
So in related news, and this is just a question from me since I didn't get all the details during this part of the presentation yesterday, tell me more about these standalone VR goggles that they're going to be putting out. So like up until now, we've got the Daydream, which is part of your phone. You tap into it. It's part of the greater thing, and it's a novelty, for lack of a better word at this
Yes.
point. We've got the HTC Vive. We've got PlayStation VR, the gaming consoles. What is Google going to do with a standalone headset? Is this going to be the next wave of the new 3D TV and home entertainment?
No, I feel like it's sort of the incremental step up from these headsets with phone plugins, right? Those headsets, those are definitely more of a novelty. I mean, I feel like they're kind of a gimmick. These purpose-built headsets for VR, these WorldSense headsets, I think are a little bit more useful. And like if you're buying one of these things, you're like investing in a VR for real. I think for me, there's always been issues plugging your phone to a VR headset. Whether it's sometimes it's tracking, it overheats. There's battery issues. If these are purpose-built headsets, I'm assuming they're free of a lot of those problems, right? You don't have to worry about the battery draining or it overheating because it's designed for VR only, as opposed to a phone that happens to do VR but taxes everything in that phone.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine it's a slicker experience. It's not as high end as Vive. Just to be clear, these are probably running on like Qualcomm Snapdragon processors. They're not running on PC gaming level type computers. So the experience isn't going to be as slick, but I think it's going to be a step up from what we've had. And I think it's sort of a natural evolution to what we've seen with VR, with like basic VR, Google Cardboard, and Daydream.
I think we're going to see designer models start coming out, something flashy, something to decorate your home with.
Oh, yeah.
And that's part where we're going to run out of time.
Designer headset, Gucci VR headset.
Gucci Googles.
It's like Prada, man. I want my Prada headset now.
All right, Roger, send us out. What do we still have coming up today from Google?
We've got a lot focus on VR and AR. Google I/O still continues day 2, so definitely tune back into CNET. We've got plenty more Google I/O stuff for you. All right, if you liked anything you saw or heard here, check us out on CNET. Our podcast is also available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, FeedBurner, and Google Play Music.
Thanks, everybody.
See you on
Have
Monday.
a great weekend.
See ya.